Your Minnesota Vikings have a golden opportunity to make some noise, and 4 games to hoist that JEROME at the end of the season. And it's very easy to say, it's like, well, what matters most? Kirk Cousins, yes. Justin Jefferson, yes. Dalvin, Kendricks, Daniil, Harrison, Darisaw, Hawkinson, etc. Yes, but what are some of the X-factors? What are some players on the fringes or players that are variable that the Vikings need large performances from in the playoffs to potentially hoist that JEROME for the first time of 12 times in the next decade? So we're going to run through 12 of them today. Number 1, center, Chris Reed, Garrett Bradbury, or Greg Manch. So Bradbury's back remains to be seen. I think that Kevin O'Connell is hedging his bets. I think that the passive language that he's using, the sort of wishy-washiness, I think that it's trending towards Bradbury. If I had to wager, I don't think he's going to play on Sunday against the Giants in the wildcard round. Now, if and when the Vikings beat the Giants, maybe the divisional round, maybe that's a different story. But I think that a big factor in the Vikings playing their starters the first half was the development of Chris Reed, where they want to get him up to speed at center after they lost Austin Schlutman. Obviously, Reed was a clown show snapping the ball against the Packers. He was much better against the Bears. And also, Chris Reed played relatively well. Chris Reed played well against the Bears. He was good pass protecting against the Packers as well. So it's never been a question of if he was a good football player. He is. He absolutely is. But can he snap the ball? Like, can he reduce the issues at center for the Vikings? Also, I mean, the Vikings, they do seem like they're on a collision course to be at San Francisco in the divisional round in the 3 versus 2 matchup. So against a loud crowd on the road, is Chris Reed going to be able to operate with Kirk Cousins' silent count, his cadence, or is it going to be issues like in Green Bay? So a lot of it remains to be seen. Well, he certainly wasn't dealing with crowd issues in Chicago. There's like 6 Bears fans rooting for the Bears to lose so they could get the number 1 pick. It's funny, man. But yeah, the center position and also the communication with Ezra and Ed Ingram and that quick interior pressure, I mean, that's going to be a factor going forward. Number 2, Oli Udoh. Now, Oli Udoh, respect, has played exceedingly well the last 2 games. After Brian O'Neill went down with that Achilles injury against the Packers, Udoh played well the rest of that game. He played extremely well against the Bears, and we've said this a bunch. Right tackle is Oli Udoh's position. The previous regime tried to put him in at right guard, didn't work. Also, they used him at left tackle, didn't work. He was right tackle his entire college career. So I think that the Vikings, they're not going to leave Oli on an island like they would leave Brian O'Neill. So, but I do think that Oli can do some good work in the run game. I think that he can be adequate in pass protection, especially with some help and some chips, especially with allowed 21 personnel. So I think that even though losing Brian O'Neill obviously sucks, I think the Vikings could manage if they get some good performances out of Oli Udoh or Blake Brandel coming off of injured reserve. Next up, number 3, cornerback Duke Shelley. So Duke Shelley, respect, man. I mean, that dude has stolen my heart. Maybe it's because we are the same height. That is neat, but he's come in. I love his attitude. I love his press man skills. He's an outside corner. Don't you dare try to put him in the slot like the Bears did just because he's short. But I think that he brings an attitude and his the way that he shores up in run support, the way that he is not scared. Like he's not scared at all, and I think that attitude permeates the rest of the defensive backs group. And I mean, like you saw how excited the rest of the DBs were when he got his first career interception against the team that got rid of him, Week 18 against the Bears. And I think that Shelley has a chance to make some big time plays. I mean, that's exactly what he does. Throughout the Vikings' magical run this year, in the tight, close games, if you need to play in the end zone or the red zone, Duke Shelley's your guy. And I do think that quarterbacks in the playoffs, maybe they'll shy away from Patrick Peterson. Maybe they'll go after, I'll just go after Duke Shelley. The kid from Kansas State. It's going to be a bad decision, bro. It's going to be bad. I think that Duke Shelley is a hell of a player. Next up, X-factor number 4. So now we said this is a list of non-superstars. So we're taking out Jefferson and Cousins, whatever. But Zadarius Smith has been very variable. Like ever since his 3-sack game against the Cardinals, he's been getting pressure, but he hasn't been getting home. He missed Week 18 against the Bears with some personal issues. It didn't sound like Kevin O'Connell said it was 100% that he's going to play on Sunday. Again, that's just reading the tea leaves. I'm sure Zadarius is going to be back and practicing and good to go, but I don't know. Like, it's just been so weird. Like, he was completely invisible against the greasy, grimy Green Bay Packers. I think he had one pressure, if that. And we said this a bunch. Pass rush is the equalizer in the playoffs. If you can get after the quarterback's ass, you can be dangerous. And the Vikings, they can be effective rushing the passer, but they need Za'Darius to bring it. And I don't know what's been going on the last 2 months or so, but I mean, Za'Darius, first half of the season was amazing. Second half, I mean, he's still doing it, but he hasn't been getting home. Daniil has clearly been the Vikings' best pass rusher over the last 8 weeks or so. So I do think that Za'Darius getting into playoff mode. Remember, he only played 2 games for the Packers last year, season opener, and then also the divisional round game where the Packers lost. But Za'Darius Smith got a bunch of pressures and 2 sacks on Jimmy G. So we need that sort of Herculean effort in the playoffs from Za'Darius Smith if the Vikings want to go anywhere. Next up, number 5, KJ Osborne, man. Absolutely. KJ is that X factor. He's got the trust of Kirk Cousins. Kirk looks to him in high leverage spots on third down or in clutch time, and everyone is going to be mugging on JJ. Jefferson's going to be doubled and tripled. Hawkinson's going to get a lot of attention. Thielen will still get some attention as well. And KJ, I mean, he's just an assassin. He just makes big-time plays in big-time games, and I think that KJ could be that guy where if teams are bound and determined to take Jefferson away, I think KJ could have a couple of explosive plays and explosive games. I think that he may be a big-time factor for the Vikings as they make their playoff run. Next up, number 6. Tight end Irv Smith Jr. Now, I know that people want to be snarky. He's like, oh, well, what about his drops? Oh, but what about his injuries? Doesn't matter. He's healthy right now. And him being paired with Hawkinson and the Vikings looking to play a little bit heavier, playing in 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, giving a little bit more help to Oli Udoh, as well as looking to run the ball. I mean, Irv could be that guy, and not just him as a receiver. I mean, that will take care of itself. But Irv Smith greatly improved as a run blocker. One of the big reasons why the Vikings ran the ball effectively at the beginning of the season is because of Irv Smith, as well as the willingness of the other tight ends and receivers blocking up front. But I do think that Hawkinson and Irv could be a duo that defenses aren't ready for because they haven't seen it. I mean, yeah, Hawkinson and Irv were on the field at times against the Bears, but not the way that they're going to be deployed in the playoffs. So I think that tandem of Hawk and Irv could cause a lot of issues for defenses in the playoffs. And I'm looking forward to it because the thing that Kevin O'Connell learned really well from Sean McVay. McVay is great at this. We're using personnel groupings to find great matchups, right? So the Vikings coming out with 2 tight ends, maybe even 3 tight ends. Maybe they play some 13 personnel with Johnny Munt in there as well. Getting these teams in their slower-based defenses and then letting the Vikings take over. It's perfect, man. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Irv in the playoffs. Next up, number 7, punter Ryan Wright. Yeah, that's right. For my money, Ryan Wright has been a top 5 punter this year. I think that he's going to have an amazing career. He's done phenomenal. And if the Vikings want to play some of these tight games, which playoff games generally are, field position is going to matter. And, Ryan Wright with a boomer here or there could make the difference. Flipping the field or Ryan Wright fake punt a couple times. That's right, man. I do think that Ryan Wright has just been phenomenal this season. Sticking with special teams. Actually, we'll do both at the same time. So, kick returner King Kene and Wangu. Now, I don't know if special teams coordinators will be so stupid to kick at King Kene, but if he gets opportunities, I think that he has a chance to make a game-changing play, as well as punt returner Jalen Reagor, where, Reagor as a receiver has been dubious this year. They've given him a handful of plays. He caused both interceptions against the Colts when he was in for JJ. It was just kind of a mess all the way around, but he still is explosive, and maybe one big punt return or one big play as a receiver could change a game. And I think that everyone needs to be all hands on deck. I think that Kevin O'Connell may empty out the playbook. Not may, he better. Well, we'll get to KOC here in a second, but I do think that Reagor as well as King Kene could be big factors. Next up, number 10, Greg Joseph. My God. All right, so Greg Joseph, 5 game-winning field goals this year. Fantastic. 61-yarder against the Giants. The game winner against the Colts. It's fantastic, but got to get your ish together, man. 2 misses against Green Bay, and guess what? If the Vikings have to go into San Francisco, if they have to go into Philly, you're going to be kicking out doors, and in Philly, it's going to be cold. And also, temperate in Santa Clara. So you have to get your ish together. You also missed a PAT against the Bears. So whatever you did in the middle of the season to get your mind right for that 4 or 5 game stretch after being a disaster the first handful of games, gotta do it again. Got to do it again, especially since these games are going to be tight. We need you, Greg Joseph. Next up, number 11, Ed GD Donatel. Now, I swear to everything that's holy, if the Vikings sit back in their Donna shell and play 8-9 yards off the receivers, play that cover 3, play that quarters, only rush 4, and then just let life happen to them and give up 450, 500 yards of offense in a game, no. Done. You're going to lose the Giants playing that way. Donatel needs to do what they did in the second half of the Colts game and parts of the Giants game of just blitzing the hell out of everyone. Just let Za'Darius and Daniil and Wanham and Patrick Jones and Diesel Dalvin Tomlinson and Harrison Phillips and whoever hunt. Let them get after it. Blitz Harrison Smith. Bring some corner blitzes. Mix things up. Play press, man. If you're going to gamble big. Like, scared money doesn't make money. So Donatel needs to get back to being uber aggressive to give the Vikings a chance in the playoffs. And lastly, X-factor number 12, head coach Kevin O'Connell. First playoffs as an NFL head coach. Now, yes, he did go through the 4-game run with the Rams last year to win the Super Bowl, but he can't hold anything back. And what's great about O'Connell is that he does seem to take ownership of his mistakes. He does seem to learn from them. And now, he has to just go out swinging. No risk it, no biscuit. There literally is no tomorrow if you don't win today. So I think that O'Connell has to take risks. He has to be uber aggressive. His play calling has to just go for the throat. And I do think that for the Vikings to have success, the Vikings do have to gamble, both on defense as well as on offense. So I think O'Connell just needs to take the governor off this engine and go full throttle and all the other cliches about getting after it. So I think that, the great thing is O'Connell won a Super Bowl last year. He knows what it takes. He knows what Sean McVay did with the Rams and Matthew frickin' Stafford last year. And I know that he has a vision of what he can do this year with Kirk Cousins. Remember, it's 4 games. Anything can happen in 4 games. That's right. But that's it. Let's take a look at a dozen X-factors for the playoffs for the Minnesota Vikings. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.